It feels like my garden is an external manifestation of my soul. It's got hummingbirds in there and butterflies, and it makes me smile. Gardening for me is such a way to relieve tension and such a way to just experience nature, and there is definitely a spiritual connection for me between this journey and my garden. Working in Boston, I used to catch the train to North Station, and then I would walk to the train, and I loved that walk. I started to have these really strange episodes of acute breathlessness, and I got to the point where I was having to stop to breathe, and I'm like, this is not right. I'm in hospital for 3 days, and they test everything. The breathlessness that I was experiencing was metastatic breast cancer. Well, I thought it meant at that point that I would die. And I still feel like that. That I have limited time. Angelina Jolie is probably the most famous coming out person for BRCA1 and BRCA2. But when I'd heard of it, I didn't know it had any connection to me.
Generally, we have genes in our body that help protect us from cancer. So all the genes that we look at are good guys, but what we're looking for is a mistake in one of the good guys, and that's part of what could be predisposing to cancer. If you've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer or with breast cancer at a young age or have a strong family history, those are the kind of people who should consider genetic testing.
I have next to no family history of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, anything that might make one suspicious. I'd already decided I was going to have the mastectomy and the oophorectomy. Didn't make any difference to me to have the genetic testing on it, but it was for the girls. Hi.
If a patient does test positive for a breast cancer-related gene mutation, then first-degree family members should consider genetic testing. Children, full siblings, and parents, they each have a 50% chance to have that gene mutation.
So I remember it so distinctly. I was actually at the hospital, and the genetic counselor said to me, "You are positive." I tell you, I almost fell off my chair. I felt that I had a ticking time bomb inside me, and I'd thrown a grenade at both the girls. And that was the most painful piece for me, that I would have given them a gene mutation. So whose crib is it? Mine. You know, they say a lot of people, when they're facing death, want to find some value in their lives. And I looked at both my kids and went, there's my value.
A pair is 2 and a pair is 4. Woohoo!
When a person has a breast cancer gene mutation, I encourage them to share that information with their children as young as they're comfortable doing so. Closer to age 25 is when we do recommend testing for breast cancer gene mutations, specifically BRCA1 and BRCA2. It just becomes part of the medical history, just like the cancer history.
So Victoria and I have gone through a variety of different relationships, as most parents do with their kids. I felt I wanted to give to her in more detail what it meant to have the BRCA mutation. And I sort of talked her through what the options were.
Thinking that like something in your DNA could make you more or less likely to ultimately get cancer, like that's like really, really scary, because thinking about like passing it on to possibly future children and everything, you know?
I tried not to put pressure on her, because that isn't how it works with Victoria. I talked about the fact that if you are found positive, there are so many choices
first things to consider if someone tests positive is better screening. In addition to a mammogram, which most women would get, women who are at high risk can get a breast MRI. And studies have shown that the breast MRI is very effective at finding breast cancer at an earlier stage. The second option to consider might be surgery.
There are some women that choose to preventatively have a mastectomy to lower their breast cancer risk by over 90%.
Knowledge is power. I'm a big believer in that, and once I knew that it was possible that I had it, that I definitely wanted to get tested, even though it was a scary idea, of course.
She came to me and said, I've decided I want to have the testing now. And I went, oh, gulp, because if it had come back positive, that would be another thing that we as a family would have had to cope with.
So when someone comes in, they can expect to meet with a genetic counselor, probably for about an hour. And part of it is collecting information about the personal and family medical history. And part of it is understanding how the test works, the pros and the cons, so that they can make a good decision about whether or not to have the test done.
Cancer is a big, scary thing at the end of the day. But having somebody who's kind of there for you but knows all of the science, you know what I mean, the medicine in it, I felt was really, really helpful.
Oh, I wanted to fly from the building.
We all cried, didn't we cry?
Yeah.
We called Dad. I remember you and I
Yes.
called Dad together.
Yes. Oh, I was so happy.
Having to not worry about it
Yes.
was amazing.
So life is a contrast. So there's this piece of life where you work in these pretty small increments, waiting for the next piece of news, fingers crossed, just praying that something's going to work for longer than 3 months. And at the same time, I don't work anymore. And both the kids are at home, so I get to spend wonderful amounts of time with them. And we go places, we go trips, while I still can. So I'm able to spend the most loving time with the people I care about the most.
I look up to you in so many ways. I've seen you go through so many things that I wish nobody would have to ever go through. You know what I mean? I know you've had so much pain, but I can only remember you being strong. And even though it's not always pretty, obviously, we're together, you know?